Hello everyone! So today we're going to be continuing our Empire's A to Z series with the nation of Belarus. Belarus is a landlocked nation located in Eastern Europe. It is bordered by Lithuania to the northwest, Latvia to the north, Russia to the east, Ukraine to the south, and Poland to the west. Belarus has a population of over 9 million people, and it has the 74th largest economy in the world. We are back in Europe, so that means I have a few things to address before we get started. The main thing is I think it's important that I remind everyone that multinational alliances are not a thing in these videos. NATO, the European Union, and CISTO do not exist because Belarus is surrounded by members of all these organizations. I think it's important I remind everyone of that early on. So, with that out of the way, let's build this empire. With his health failing, Belarus's aging president, Alexander Lukashenko, begins looking for ways to ensure his legacy lasts well after he is gone. In order to do that, he realizes that he needs a military conquest to revitalize his legacy. He starts by increasing military pay to fill the ranks and providing better training for his armed forces. Through these actions, he triples the size of Belarus's armed forces and molds it into an effective fighting force in very short order. With a large and ready military, Lukashenko contacts his ally Vladimir Putin in Russia with an offer to join Russia's war with Ukraine and open up a new front line on the Belarusian border. With the war turning into a never-ending meat grinder of Russian manpower, equipment, and prestige, Putin hastily agrees, and Belarus declares war on Ukraine. Unlike Russia's initial northern offensive towards Kiev, Belarus begins its invasion in the far west. Belarusian forces push out of Belarus and take the city of Kovul, surprising the limited Ukrainian forces in the region. From there, they push on to take Lutsk before securing the towns of Sarny and Rivne. Ukraine hastily begins redeploying forces to the Western Front, as it becomes clear that Belarus's intention is to cut off Ukraine from Western aid. Belarus wastes little time though and starts an offensive towards Lviv, but battle-hardened Ukrainian reserves on leave from the front line join the defense and stop the Belarusians north of the city. In the east, Russian forces expel the Ukrainian incursion into the Kursk Oblast and restarts its Kharkiv offensive by pushing across the Oskil River. The Russians take Izium and Chuiv before enough Ukrainian reinforcements can be pulled into the region. Russian forces restart their advance on Zaporizhia, which pushes within 20 miles of the city. Back west, Belarus begins moving forces across the border at Overich and pushes on to Zhytomyr, while another force pushes on to take Ternopil. Zhytomyr is surrounded, and Lviv soon follows. Belarusian forces storm Zhytomyr and take the city, but instead of heading for Kiev, they push their advance south to take Vinnytsia. Lviv falls, and Belarusian forces move to consolidate their front lines. In the east, Russia pushes in to take Kharkiv and Zaporizhia. They then push on to take Poltava and Dnipro, where they cross the Dnipro River. Belarus begins cleaning out southwestern Ukraine and starts putting more pressure on Kiev. Russia retakes northeastern Ukraine, and the encirclement of Kiev is completed. After a lengthy siege, Kiev falls to Russian troops, and the war is brought to an end. The peace conference is held in Moscow, where Russia annexes all the territory south and east of the Dnipro River. Belarus takes the Ukrainian oblast of Volyn and Rivne, as well as the northern half of the Zhytomyr and Kiev Oblast, along the Tetra River to the Dnipro River. The rest of Ukraine is turned into a Russian puppet state. Wait a second, are you subscribed? Well, 97% of you aren't. That's okay, I get it. You don't subscribe to everything you watch, but you should subscribe to me. So do me a favor and hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell right next to it so you don't miss anything. Oh, and that little thumbs up button there, hit it for me too, will you? Alright, that's enough of that. Let's get back to the video. Following the victory over Ukraine, Lukashenko's popularity sees a dramatic increase. Unfortunately, the aging president does not get to fully experience that rise in popularity as he dies of a heart attack just days after the war. Alexander's youngest son, Nikolai, is elected to the presidency after promising reforms to increase freedoms in the country. He releases several of his father's political opponents, reforms the judicial system, and enacts laws protecting civilians' rights. Nikolai also moves to liberalize the economy by privatizing specific economic sectors and promoting competition in the markets. Through these measures, the economy of Belarus joins the ranks of the fastest growing economies of the world, and hundreds of thousands of Belarusians return home from abroad. Nikolai uses his growing economy to then grow the military. The ground forces increase to 125,000 troops and begin acquiring new main battle tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, self-propelled artillery, and anti-air systems. The Air Force acquires new multi-role fighters, transport planes, AWACS craft, attack helicopters, transport helicopters, and unmanned aerial vehicles. All these moves transition Russia's view of the nation from one that was once a puppet to that of a capable and reliable ally. While Belarus underwent its transformation, its northern rivals in the Baltic states became ever more frightened of the revitalized nation. Tensions come to a head when a Belarusian patrol accidentally strays into Lithuania and is thrown in jail. Lithuania refuses to release the mistaken troops, claiming the soldiers were a saboteur party preparing for an invasion, and threatens to hang them. Belarus stages a successful raid to rescue the troops, but kills several Lithuanian border guards in the process. Both sides begin sending troops to the border, leading to a skirmish at the main border crossing southeast of Vilnius. Belarus declares war on Lithuania and begins to push into the country. They quickly press in to begin surrounding the capital of Vilnius. Understanding that the capital is too vulnerable, the government of Lithuania falls back to Klaipėda on the coast. Belarusian troops quickly storm Vilnius and take Alytus soon after. During the threat of the new Belarus, the Baltic states of Latvia and Estonia enter into a coalition with Lithuania and declare war on Belarus. They launch their own offensive into northern Belarus and take Braslaw and Miori. Belarus is forced to relocate some of its troops from the advance on Knus to help defend from the invasion to the north. They successfully hold the lines north of Palatsk and stabilize the defense. Back west, they push and take Knus before driving for the coast. The Baltic coalition puts up a defense east of Klaipėda, but it cannot stand against Belarus's attack and the city falls. With momentum on their side, Belarusian troops turn north and secure much of northern Lithuania. An attack is then conducted to take Daugavpils and Rizeki, opening up the eastern front. Liepāja is taken on the coast, and the Belarusians begin pressing north to take Daugava. Riga is surrounded, and the Latvian government evacuates till Tallinn as the city falls. The Belarusian army begins working to mop up areas behind the front lines before pushing forward into northern Latvia. The Belarusian advance outruns their supply lines after taking Valga, and the entire attack comes to a halt. Seeing an opportunity to turn the tide, the remaining Baltic troops attempt to counterattack along the coast and succeed in pushing the Belarusians back. Unfortunately for the Baltic forces, units in the Belarusian center are resupplied and they swiftly attack west to surround the Baltic counterattack. The Baltic troops attempt to break out to the north, but fail and are forced to surrender. With only a few thousand outnumbered troops between the front lines and the capital of Estonia, Belarus orders a general attack north. They take Pamu and Tartu before surrounding Tallinn. The Baltic coalition issues a combined capitulation and the war is officially over. The peace conference is held in Moscow, where Belarus annexes all of the Baltic states, but agrees to give the region a high degree of autonomy. With Belarus now controlling the routes to Kaliningrad and maintaining a friendly relationship with Russia, Russia agrees to transfer Kaliningrad to Belarus in exchange for allowing a lease of the naval facilities there. And that about does it for Belarus. Belarus has gone from a small autocratic puppet state to a regional power in Eastern Europe, providing a buffer between Russia and the West. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and if you would, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and tell me what you think of this Belarusian empire by leaving a comment below. Anyways, I'll see you next time as we turn Belgium back into an empire, and empires A to Z.